Hello, everybody. Matt Parrino here from M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland, where the Buffalo Bills just wrapped up their season opener. Not the best showing, 47-3. Bit of a lopsided performance. I'm going to do a little live chat here, a little reaction to the game. A lot to unpack, a lot to talk about. Leave your questions, leave your comments. I'm going to actually bring this up on Facebook right here. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. Here we go. So yeah, where to start here? I think the quarterback situation for the Bills is very much up in the air. Sean McDermott spoke after the game. Didn't really want to get into who will start going forward, but Nathan Peterman struggled quite a bit in this one. By the time he was pulled out of the game in the third quarter, he had a 0 quarterback rating. He had only thrown for 24 yards and 2 interceptions. Obviously not the 5 interceptions like what everybody remembers as his bad performance against the Chargers last season, but not inspiring football. Now listen, this entire offense, this entire team, both sides of the ball struggled in this game, but when you're talking about the quarterback position, Josh Allen was able to come in the second half, make a few plays, and I think that Nathan Peterman showed in this game that he just might not be talented enough to be a starting quarterback in this league. He's still developing too. Has a little bit more experience than Josh Allen. He obviously went out there in a few games last year, took some lumps, but he came out today, threw the interceptions. The interception on the Kelvin Benjamin play, he missed pretty badly. It looked a lot like some of the gaffes he had against the Chargers last year. And when you're on the road and against a defense like this, and Baltimore is not even the toughest defense that the Bills are going to face in this stretch. I mean, you think about their early schedule here. Minnesota Vikings are coming up in 2 weeks, and this offense plays like this in that game, it could be very, very ugly very quickly. I thought that let me just bring up these comments here so I can see what you guys are talking about. I thought that the offense overall struggled. Obviously, LaShawn McCoy didn't really have a chance to kind of get off in this game. And I think that was interesting because a lot's been made about Brian Daboll's offense, in this preseason, in the training camp leading up to it, and how dynamic it is and how many different looks you're going to see. And I think, I thought one of the big keys going into this game was how are the Bills going to, get a running game going against this tough defense, and they just weren't able to do it. I think that when you have a bunch of 3 and outs to start the game, it's tough to get in any rhythm. And before you know it, you look up at the scoreboard, it's 14-0, and you're down 2 touchdowns, and you just got to throw the football. You look at somebody said, "Where's Tyrod Taylor?" A very interesting situation. I mean, with a guy like Nathan Peterman, where you saw some really poor play last season, you wonder. Even if you were going to draft a guy like Josh Allen, why not keep a Tyrod Taylor around, a guy that wasn't winning you a lot of games, but he wasn't losing you games either, and he was keeping you in games at times. And I think that the Bills missed that today. I think Peterman looked once that now. Granted, remember, this offensive line is retooled. You had 2 guys that left. Richie Incognito retired. Eric Wood was forced to retire, and they're plugging in some guys with that may prove not to be starting offensive line caliber, NFL caliber players. Ryan Groy had a great stretch a few years ago replacing Eric Wood, and in this one, he looked overmatched. The interior offensive line, I mean, was breaking down throughout the game. I'm seeing a comment right here. The Bills lost 2 of their leaders on the offensive line. It's going to be interesting to see how they rebound from this. You look at LaShawn McCoy said in the his post-game interview that as a captain and as a leader, he said that he's going to tell his teammates, there's no finger pointing around here. This was everybody. We have to go back to the drawing board and figure this all out. Kyle Williams talked about the fact that everybody has to look in the mirror, and I think that's a very important thing. Like you're going to learn a lot about this coaching staff and the veteran leaders on this team. Lorenzo Alexander kind of said the same thing. They said the bright spot about this is it's a real bad game, 47-3, but it's the first game of the season. Hopefully they can rebound, figure things out as they go along here. As far as the starting quarterback competition or situation, I think Josh Allen, you got to throw him out there. He looked like, he was comfortable. He came in and he just looked like, with that arm and the ability to scramble, he may be able to get himself out of situations where maybe Nathan Peterman couldn't. And, a lot of arguments can be made about, getting a guy in there, getting him some experience, some comparisons to guys that were thrown out there that didn't go very well. You think back to David Carr with the Houston Texans when he was running for his life his entire rookie season and things just didn't pan out for him. But I think Josh Allen has the ability and the size and the physicality to make some plays and to survive back there. And you want to see what you got, and then you're going to want to build around them. Who else had a really tough day today was Calvin Benjamin. He was targeted quite a bit, almost 10 times, and he dropped a couple balls. One really bad one in the back of the end zone. Josh Allen late in the game. The game was already out of hand, but Calvin Benjamin's a guy that they need to step up this season with a wide receiver group that lacks a lot of depth, a lot of talent at the position. And Calvin Benjamin's a guy that number one receiver in Carolina, and now again, and this year in a contract year, he needs to prove himself, and he just didn't get it done today. He talked about the conditions. That's interesting. A couple of guys talked about how tough it was to play out here, not really using it as an excuse, but get back to Buffalo next week, see what the weather's like, and see if this kind of trend continues. Let's see what else we got going on here. On the defensive side of the ball, more of the same in terms of struggling. You think back to the Cincinnati game week 3 of the preseason. They struggled quite a bit. Andy Dalton was able to sit back in the pocket, attack the Bills secondary without much threat of a pass rush, and that continued today. And even when, on a few plays where Joe Flacco was pressured, the Bills pass rushers just weren't making plays. There was one instance where Jerry Hughes beat the offensive lineman, had Andy Dalton dead to rights, or Joe Flacco dead to rights in the backfield, and Flacco just stepped up. Hughes kind of swam around and tried to hit the ball out, didn't go to wrap him up, and there you go. Flacco gets out of the pocket, makes a completion, and those are momentum building plays that the Bills, when they have opportunity to affect the quarterback in the backfield, they have to make those plays. And there just wasn't a consistent pass rush throughout this game. Other news before the game even started: Vontae Davis, free agent acquisition in the offseason, coming over from the Indianapolis Colts in the offseason, was made inactive before the game, and Phillip Gaines started. He came over from Kansas City, and he struggled quite a bit. There was a few plays where he looked like he was out of position, confused. One play where Flacco, ran around in the backfield, made some extra time for himself, and flung it back across the field. And Phillip Gaines was backing up on his, backpedaling, out of position, and not a great look for Gaines or even the coaching staff for that matter. Where was Vontae Davis in this game? Might have been able to at least bring some experience to that defensive backfield when things were going bad. Gaines kind of improved, at times, but that's a situation that's going to be interesting to look at going forward. Who plays there, and what kind of production are they getting from that position? On the bright side with the defense, I thought Tremaine Edmonds had an outstanding game today. At times, there was times where he was lost in the preseason, I felt like, and he spoke a lot about it. Where he felt like the game was very fast. It was very sped up compared to his time in the college game, and he made a few plays today. There was one series where 3 straight plays he had a sack, a pass breakup in coverage, and then a forced fumble that Matt Milano, who also played very well at times, recovered the fumble, and the Bills, they were forced to punt to get the ball back, and that's a encouraging sign for this Bills defense as they move forward here. Obviously, across the board today, a game that this team's going to want to forget about. Wipe the tape, look at some film. Hopefully they can learn some things from what transpired here today. And Josh Allen even said it. They want to burn this game and go on. He talked about going in under unfortunate circumstances, but at the same time, interesting enough, he felt like he learned a lot from watching and then going in and playing. So that's a positive that the Bills can take out of this game. But as we move forward, it's going to be interesting to watch. A lot of NFL experts have tabbed the Bills as one of the worst teams in the league. Some even saying they're the worst, and they really didn't do a lot today to change that perception. Keep it locked on to NYup.com all week long for your coverage as fallout from this week. Sean McDermott will have some availability tomorrow, and we'll have more coverage from Baltimore and back in Orchard Park this week. Thanks for joining me, guys.